Waiting can feel like an eternity, and our thoughts can be obscured by time. But when the moment arrives and all is clear, our true reflections will come into the light. In 2002, North America was given a strange game which celebrated the collaboration of two very different companies, that being Squaresoft's / Enix's and Disney's beloved gaming franchise, Kingdom Hearts. No one really knew what to think of this game when it first came out, but it quickly became a bestseller for the PlayStation 2, and millions of people were now calling themselves a fan of the game, and it was no surprise that a sequel would eventually be released, especially with the first game ending on a sort of cliffhanger, with the sequel even teased in the secret movie. Everyone anticipated Kingdom Hearts 2, and that day finally came to a realization after the actual continuation of the original story, which released on the Nintendo Game Boy Advance called Chain of Memories. And then, of course, after beating the game, fans were treated to another cliffhanging epilogue and secret ending, and since that day, we all awaited for when Kingdom Hearts 3 would be in our possessions. And it only took 13 years. Now, with kidding aside, it's not like the series has been dormant for 13 years, as the creators of Kingdom Hearts did have more story that they wanted to tell before it all came together in Kingdom Hearts 3, which were released and re-released throughout the years, all so we could lead up to this final moment, the exciting release of Kingdom Hearts 3. If you guys have been following me for a long time now, you know that Kingdom Hearts is like my second favorite gaming franchise of all time, and like many of you, I have been waiting for this day ever since it was first announced back in 2013. While sure, I assumed 3 would come after 2 like everyone else did, I pretty much decided to drop that excitement the day 358 over 2 days came out. I decided that I wouldn't be anxious or begging for Kingdom Hearts 3 until a proper trailer was released, and when we finally got that fateful release date, my heart couldn't stop pounding until January 29th of 2019. And sure enough, that date came, and it went, and in the following days, I have finished Kingdom Hearts 3, probably more than I should be proud of. And if I'm being honest, it took me a while to really sit down and write this review, and it was mainly because I really wanted to hone down my final thoughts on the game. And after a couple of weeks of speaking with friends and seeing other opinions on the game, I feel like I could finally present my final thoughts in a reassured manner. So with all that out of the way, let's finally dive into the long-awaited title that is Kingdom Hearts 3. The important thing to remember about Kingdom Hearts 3's story is that it's not its own story. While it does bring new things to the table, it mainly builds off every single thing that has been brought to the light and foreshadowed in Kingdom Hearts lore since the very first game. And while I am someone who usually pushes for someone to play through the entire games to really be ready for things that'll be present in this one, the game itself has its little archives of videos of the story so far, retelling to very basic amounts of things that you may have missed in previous entries. So theoretically, you could just pick up Kingdom Hearts 3 and watch these little recaps and be somewhat brought up to speed. It's a neat thing and I'm glad that they did it, but in my personal opinion, you would get a lot more out of the experience if you played the previous games. You don't have to, I'm just saying, I would probably urge that one more. Right away when starting the game, we are introduced by the new opening song/movie, Face My Fears. And it's just a side tangent here, this is now my new favorite Kingdom Hearts opening. I have no real reason why I like this opening so much, or the song. I just think it's a pretty good tune. Moving on, the plot takes off immediately after the ending events of 0.2 Birth by Sleep, which is dubbed Kingdom Hearts 2.9. This is a ton of stuff from previous Kingdom Hearts games, so if you're worried about major plot stuff from previous games, I don't know, skip to like this time code, I guess, or you can go back and watch my other video. I kinda covered what's going on in there. Essentially, the earlier entries were leading up to one fateful event, a brand new Keyblade War, which Xehanort himself plans on unleashing, forging the Keyblade and unleashing a power within Kingdom Hearts and doing whatever other nasty plot he has in mind. This of course means that Sora and his other friends have to rescue the other Keyblade warriors that have gone missing, those being Roxas, Ventus, Terra, and of course Aqua. Before they can, however, Sora needs to learn something called the Power of Awakening. So Sora heads to Olympus Coliseum as he figures that if he needs some guidance to how to find some hidden power within himself, he should go see someone who's had a similar experience. That being Hercules. It's also implied that Sora somehow got weaker after failing his Mark of Mastery exam, and people do seem to take notice as well. Even Pete and Maleficent acknowledge that he isn't the powerhouse he used to be. Oh yeah, I should mention, those two are on a journey to find something called the Black Box, and something else called the Book of Prophecy. Now look, these two things are somewhat relevant to future plot points than get mentioned later, but for the time being, the majority of the story is more focused on Sora and Riku's journey to prepare for the upcoming Keyblade War. Oh yeah, I should mention that as well. Riku and the King were tasked with one mission of the utmost importance, to rescue Aqua from the world of darkness, and well, I'm not gonna lie, they kinda suck at doing it. I'll be completely honest, not only do they lose to the Heartless, but Riku's old Keyblade even takes a beating and he requires a new one. There's also Kairi and Lee, aka Axel, who have begun their own training to becoming true Keyblade warriors, which is honestly really great to see. Their little interactions they have with each other are so great, and it constantly reminds me as to why Axel is just such a good boy. And really, I wish there was more of that I can really go on, but there isn't. It's kind of a Kingdom Hearts tradition, if I'm being honest. The beginning storyline to this game boils down to a few factors. Sora trying to obtain the Power of Awakening in order to rescue those who have gone missing in years past, finally rescuing Aqua from the world of darkness, and of course, training in order to face Xehanort and his other 12 disciples in order to stop the forging of the Keyblade and bringing forth a new Keyblade War. Reminder that this game is coming off almost 16 years of plot building, so if you haven't played a majority of the games or didn't watch the little stories so far that I mentioned before, then yeah, a lot of what I said is making no sense to you. But for those who have, yeah, it's a pretty basic idea what's going on in the century. Good guys versus bad guys. Light versus dark. 7 against 13. We all saw this coming. We've known this has been coming for years, so really, the game has to do nothing to really introduce it to us. It's more the newcomers who are gonna be a little bit confused. Light versus dark. Who shall rise and who shall fall? That is up for fate to decide. Kingdom Hearts 3 is by far the most gorgeous looking Kingdom Hearts game to date. It's simply amazing to see the jump in quality when looking at the first game and then comparing it to this one. I don't mean to say that the older games look bad, far from it. For the consoles they were on, they look fantastic. I'm just glad that the team was able to fully use the tools at their disposal to give us such a great looking game. I've heard some people say that this game doesn't look as realistic or graphically impressive as other PS4 titles, and like, yeah, no duh? Kingdom Hearts has always gone for something between a Disney cartoon or a 3D animation style and Nomura's anime-esque character designs, and honestly, I think it works fine with the direction they chose to go in. The little cartoony aspect of it really does separate itself from the others, and that's what makes it work. Environment settings as well are gorgeous and some of the best part of the game. The blockiness of the environments that I've mentioned when talking about the series prior is now gone. As cliche as this statement will sound, it honestly does feel like the world from the movies are now lifelike and more immersive when running around and fighting Heartless in them. The one thing I've always enjoyed about past Kingdom Hearts games was the feeling that you felt part of the story being told on the Disney side. Reenacting scenes from Aladdin or Mulan was always interesting because it was taking something I already knew and adding its own spin on it. Kingdom Hearts 3 does this approach as well, and in some ways it works extremely well, and in other ways it doesn't. For example, the Big Hero 6 world, they took a story approach which takes place after the first film, which I thought was a good move for two reasons. A, it gives the writers a little bit of more wiggle room with what they can do in order to mix both the Kingdom Hearts aspect and the original source of the story that the world is trying to tell. And making it a pseudo-sequel allows for new things to be brought into the world without affecting the original story of Big Hero 6 too much. And that's the important part, the mixing of both worlds into its own story. But then you take a look at a world like Frozen. Yeah, it was a bit boring. I mean, it basically just retells the same story as the movie, which is fine, but unlike the one I mentioned before with, you know, the whole interactions between the Kingdom Hearts characters and the Disney worlds, like, oh my god, yeah, that's pretty much non-existent in this world. Like, yeah, there's interactions and such, but unlike past worlds, when Larxene enters the world, it's more of just a foreshadowing character making idle threats rather than actually making themselves a part of the world's story. Where in the Big Hero 6 world, the organization member is actually very prominent and is essentially the driving antagonizing threat. Now, with all that said, I don't think any world you visit in the game is, you know, bad, but there are some that are definitely weaker than the others. And speaking of worlds, oh my lord, they got bigger. And I mean, like, bigger. Every world, well, an exception to one, are bigger than they have ever been before. Well, in a way. You see, worlds in previous entries are big, especially when looking at games like Kingdom Hearts 2. However, in Kingdom Hearts 3, the worlds are a lot more open-ended, with loading zones being very few and far between each other, and it gives the worlds that much more of a open-world experience. Alright, I think that's enough of me talking about the graphics and such, so let's talk about my favorite thing about the game. The gameplay! Kingdom Hearts 3 harkens back to games of yore, and by that I mean, well, they kept the same command menu from Kingdom Hearts 1 and 2, which was honestly the best decision they could have made. Apparently the team behind Kingdom Hearts 3 originally wanted to reuse the command deck system like in Birth by Sleep, but then Papa Nomura stepped in and basically said, no, we don't do that, and prompted them to go back to the original style, which, again, was the best decision. While I never hated the deck building system, even I can admit that it did limit players as to what they could do, especially when games like Kingdom Hearts 2 truly show what the potential could have been, and the same thing can be said about 0.2. So how does the switch back to the old style translate to Kingdom Hearts 3? Honestly, I think it's the best gameplay the series has had so far, but I still have a few gripes that I can point out. But first, let's start with the positive. Movement in this game feels honestly solid. You have your typical running and rolling and later on even air dashing and flying, but a small inclusion which I really enjoy is Sora's basic movement speed. Sure, at first he runs at his normal pace, but after running for a few seconds, Sora starts to pick up a little speed and begins to run faster. This is a very small thing, but I honestly love it. In previous games, if you wanted to move fast, at least early game, you needed to continuously roll, and I would honestly hate doing it. But here I could just hold forward and hey, look at that, we're moving right along just smoothly. Kingdom Hearts 3 also has its own dodge mechanics as well, and we get to play with them pretty early on. But now we have more movement options, which just lets the player run how they want. Another addition I really enjoyed was the party system. In this game, every character gets to join your party and fight enemies alongside you without having to switch out characters, which I largely enjoy. I always hated that some members got left out, so it feels really cool to see everyone fighting together. And now for the meat and potatoes of this game, which is of course the gameplay. Oh boy. Alright, well let's start with your simple stuff. So as mentioned before, the command menu style of gameplay has returned, which means it's your regular press X to attack the enemy with standard string of combos, as well as pressing square to block or dodge out of the way of enemy hits, and of course jumping is done by pressing the circle button, which of course can lead to having a couple of aerial abilities. They even brought flow motion back, but this time it's in a bit of a weaker state. Kind of makes sense, I mean the last time he used it was inside his own mind, but you can still use it for a bit more mobility and of course to attack your foes with powerful strikes. Summons even make their way back in forms of links, which is kind of neat, I guess. I didn't really use them too much, but I never really did outside of maybe Kingdom Hearts 2, so But one combat style that has drastically changed is the Keyblade itself. Now in previous entries, you would get different Keyblades and they would change your stats and sometimes grant you extra abilities, yada yada yada. And that's still the case in this game, but what's more exciting is the ability to switch between different Keyblades during battle, which is amazing. I love the idea of using the Kingdom Key, but maybe the situation needs a bit more offensive magic, so you quickly change to the Ever After Key and boom, now you're rocking powerful magic attacks. It's really fun to play around with different Keyblade combinations, and honestly to each their own, which leads into part 2 as to why the Keyblades are so awesome, and that is form changing. Much like the style of 0.2, the limit attack still persists in this game, and yes, using magic multiple times can lead to a more damaging magic attack when the limit gauge is full, but now this also reflects to Keyblades as well, unlocking a style change that allows not only the Keyblade to change, but your playstyle as well. One will change to quick attacking claws, while the other can charge into a giant hammer. There's almost something for everyone here, and honestly, it's a breath of fresh air. It's cool to see that a Keyblade you get early game can still be used by someone near the end, just because they enjoy the playstyle of it. Magic makes a return as well, and while I could say it's used much more often and is more efficient, Water and Thunder are just too good, and honestly, you ain't gonna really stop using them. The other ones are fine, but Water and Thunder are the ones you're gonna be sticking with. Also, hey, where's my magnet and reflect, please? And from there isn't that much left to talk about, to be honest. I mean, there's a cooking minigame which acts as a recipe maker for making food so that you can create dishes which give stat boosts depending on what dish you make. Good lord, I'm starting to make the connections. There's also many other minigames sprinkled throughout the different worlds that are, I don't know, fine. Like, I didn't really hate them. I just play them and then, you know, that's it, moving on. Except for the stupid Frozen one. Good lord, that one hurt. Synthesis comes back and it's still the bane of my existence. Look, I love making items and collecting materials, but I'll be honest, Kingdom Hearts games have always made it the hardest. Look, on your first playthrough, you aren't going to be too sure where certain items are, and since you're going to be needing them for recipes, you're either going to A, look online, or B, spend hours and hours backtracking to find one damn material. I've done it and you have too, don't lie to me. Both of which I am fine with, but it's just more tedious, I guess. I don't know. And that still isn't everything, considering, you know, the gummy phone is a thing, and so is finding lucky emblems, and oh, there's a lot to talk about in Kingdom Hearts 3. But I feel like there's only one more major thing for me to talk about. Let me ask you something, Nomura, Square, whoever I gotta ask. What the flip happened to the gummy ships, and why is it better than Skies of Arcadia? In all seriousness, holy heck, I cannot believe they did this. An open exploration map with Sora and friends in freaking space? This is by far the best gummy ship sections we've ever had in the entire series, and I have regularly found myself exploring every inch of the sections just looking for every secret that I could, and I loved every minute of it. I even loved the little extra Heartless battles that are sprinkled throughout the maps. God, I love these sections so much. Well, yeah, I think I'm done talking about the gameplay stuff now. Oh, wait, I had to say something that I honestly hated about the gameplay. Skateboards didn't come back. Where the frick are the skateboards? I don't understand. All right, no, that's honestly enough now. Let's move on to the ending portion of this video. So, I bet right now you're expecting me to flash the final level portion of the video and start talking about the ending and stuff. And truth be told, I'm not doing it this time. Now, trust me, this is something I have spent literal weeks on, and I do mean weeks pondering over. I couldn't decide if I was going to do it or not, and yet here I am, not doing it. And I do have two major reasons as to why. Now, for anyone who has never really understood why I do what I do, it's because when I choose to review a game, I choose to review it as a whole, which includes the ending. Sometimes an ending can make or break a game, and in most cases, it's why I choose to do it. When I review a game, I want to review all of it. So why am I not doing it for this game? Well, like I said, there's actually two reasons. One is the fact that it's pretty much been confirmed that we are getting additional content in the form of a final mix DLC in the near future. And from what we've pretty much gathered, it's going to be additional story branching off from the secret ending of Kingdom Hearts 3. And for anyone who's beaten the game and has seen the secret ending, I'm sure you're both excited and holding their breath for this DLC as well. The point I'm trying to make is, I don't think I could truly review the ending of the game because we just don't have it yet. Now, don't get me wrong, the game ended, and a lot of things ended, but some things also didn't. Now, say what you will on the practice of this whole thing, and trust me, I probably agree, but for now, this is where we stand. And as for the other reason, sometimes a game can just get to you, and something in the back of my mind has just been telling me not to do it, and honestly, it's the thing that's pushed this video out to this date. Sometimes you just have to let things be and have people experience it for themselves. Kingdom Hearts 3 was a big deal for a lot of us, and a lot of us are going to have a lot of different views and criticisms to bring up and discuss. If I took away that feeling from someone, then I honestly don't know how I feel. I'll say this, I really liked the ending. It ended a saga that I thought would never be finished. And as for that, holy hell, Kingdom Hearts 3 is now done, at least for the time being, and I still can't believe I can say these words. Now, I promise you this, once the DLC stuff comes out, I will make a proper video talking about the whole ending and what the DLC added and talking about my true thoughts on basically the whole experience. But that'll be for a different time. And you know what? I hope you all enjoyed your playthrough of Kingdom Hearts 3. I know I did, and I still do. I still go back to work on my 100% completion file, and I'm working on my level 1 playthrough on Proud Mode right now. Oh, by the way, when Critical Mode drops, I'm totally doing a playthrough of it on stream, and like literally the minute it comes out. And I've been learning the speedrun to Kingdom Hearts 3 as well. My point is, follow me on twitch.tv/MinimattReviews for cool Kingdom Hearts streams and other JRPG goodness, I guess. Kingdom Hearts 3 was a great time for me. And honestly, I feel like the more I keep playing it, the more I keep telling myself that it's probably my favorite Kingdom Hearts game, which is a interesting view to have, especially to anyone who knows me. But I did. I love this game a whole bunch. Kingdom Hearts is a series that's very dear to me, and it will be for many others, and more to come. I don't know what the future is for the series, but I do know one thing. I'll be there to pick up the next game in line, day one, and I can't wait to see what comes up. I hope you all enjoyed the video. I'm gonna go rest now. Take it easy, guys. I love you, and I'll see you all in the next one. Take care.